Hello, so I'm doing my presentation on chapter 13. This is about the human microbials and the relationship it has on the human body. So, starting off, I have an agenda, and it's just the human host, colonization, infection, and disease, and the human microbiome project, and other things. Alright, so starting off, we have the human host. Each human has trillions of microbes, so this can include good and bad microbes. For example, good microbes would be the gut microbia. They can aid with digestion, or you have your skin microbia. That's like helpful yeast and bacteria. Bad bacteria would be your strains of E. coli, and they can lead to infection. For example, your Staphylococcus, that could also lead to infection. But nevertheless, all microbia that inhabit your body are impactful in some way. So you have your holobiont. These are vital resident microbes. It kind of describes all the microbes living in harmony, and includes all kinds. So different types would be your colonists. So these are your normal biota. They are found in the intestine, the respiratory system, that type of thing. Then you have your rapidly lost. So this would be your transient. These have the potential to cause infection. So this is what you would breathe in, or touch, and they can invade some tissues. Okay, so then you have your human microbiome project. So this study was conducted in early 2007, and the reason it drew attention is because humans have lived with microbes from the beginning of time. So they were just trying to figure out the relationship that we share with these small microbes. So it consists of two phases. The first phase is the microbiome in healthy hosts in different parts of the body, so like your gut and your respiratory system. In the second phase, this is your microbiome in pregnancy and preterm birth, inflammatory bowel disease, type 2 diabetes, and more things like that. Most microbia cannot be determined or cultured, so they tried to research different microbia in the lab, but because it's so diverse, you cannot confine the microbes in one area. Okay, so some continued findings. So some places in the body are not sterile. For example, they thought that the lungs were sterile, but that's been disproven. They do contain microbia. Many viruses inhabit the body. There are many viruses that leave the body each day through feces. Many humans harbor pathogens. Crohn's disease and obesity are directly linked by gut microbia. Another disease is cancer, and how taking care of your gut microbia can directly lead to the healing of cancer. Okay, so then there's been a lot of research describing how the human body is a great home for these microbes. It provides a great temperature, pH, has great nutrients and an oxygen. So the wide range of habitats help these different types of microbes to inhabit different parts of the body. So there are some main sites harboring microbiota. You have your upper respiratory tract. So these can stimulate the immune system to resist pathogens. You have your breast milk, which is full of different types of good bacteria. You have your DNA microbia. So this can be found in the brain and bloodstream. This has been recently discovered. So I thought this was pretty interesting. So you have your breast cancer microbiota. There are some differences between normal breast microbiota versus breast cancer microbiota. So it's first thought that the nipple was a sterile place from microbes, but it's been discovered that a bacteria called Staphylococcus is increased with those that have breast cancer versus those that don't. So these can cause DNA damage to the host cells, which can increase tumor formation. So scientists have been trying to figure out a way to reduce breast cancer, and one way is to replace the bad bacteria with good bacteria. It's an ongoing discovery, though. Okay, so this is the colonization of microbes that eventually lead to disease. So the definition of a pathogen is a parasitic relationship between a microbe and its host, which eventually leads to infection. So then you have your true pathogens. So these are easily detectable infections. So this would be like the flu or malaria or the plague. So immunocompromised individuals, these people are susceptible to get an infection. They usually have another disease such as cancer that if they're undergoing radiation, that would put them at a higher risk for getting an infection. So opportunistic, so these are microbia that are in one part of the body and go to another that cause disease. So this would be like bacteria entering the urinary tract, which leads to a UTI. This is the variability of a host. So before a pathogen can get to its host, it must have a portal of entry first. So this is usually, and I'll talk more about it in future slides, but usually it happens from a break in the skin or through mucous membranes. So there are many host-related variables. Some are genetics. Another one is the host has seen the microbe before, and also the host's health. So it must be in good health to gain good access to that. Yeah. So physiological stress has also been studied to increase the availability of a host. So if the body was under this physiological stress, it could predispose this individual to infection. So next is your polymicrobial infections. So this is more than one microbe that inhabits the body or the host. So, for example, usually individuals who have the flu usually are at risk for pneumonia. So these two infections on top of each other are what you call a polymicrobial infection. So an interesting fact with the flu, nose microbiota was set loose and traveled to other areas of the body resulting from the flu. So that's a good example of polymicrobial infections. And then you have your skin infection. So if you have a portal of entry, such as a tear or break in the skin, different types of infectious agents can gain access to that portal of entry. So talking more about the portal of entry, to infect, the pathogen must have a portal, and again, usually through skin or mucous membranes. So an exogenous portal of entry would be from a source outside of the body. This would be like an animal if it had an infection, or free-roaming microbes, and you can inhale the infection. And then you have your endogenous. So these are already existing in or on the body. Pathogens adapting. So pathogens have adapted to different types of portals of entries. For example, you have your nasal mucosa. This can give rise to the flu. An infection cannot enter from the skin. So it'd just be from the nasal mucosa, not from any other portal of entry. Okay, so your infectious agents entering from the skin. So again, breaks in skin. Regular skin, intact skin, is hard to. It's a good barrier from infectious agents. It's hard for those pathogens to enter. Cold sores enter through the mucous membranes near the mouth. So another infectious agent causing their own pathways is some infectious agents use digestive enzymes. So these would be your helminth worms, and they can bury into the skin. Others enter through bites, so they'd be like your ticks or mosquitoes, and that can cause an onset of many types of diseases. So drug users are predisposed to these infectious agents. So they are breaching the skin barrier if they do needles. This could lead to hepatitis, AIDS, or even tetanus. Contaminated needles can cause heart disease or lung or spine abscesses. I thought that was pretty interesting. And conjunctiva. So although the conjunctiva of the eyelid is a very good barrier, sometimes it can be predisposed to different types of infections such as pink eye. So yeah. So another portal of entry would be your gastrointestinal portal. These usually come through with contaminated food, drinks, or other substances. So usually these pathogens are adapted to survive extreme environments such as pH. Viruses entering through the gut, so these would be your polioviruses, hepatitis A, and rotaviruses. So a gastrointestinal portal is a common way in which these pathogens enter the body and eventually cause infection. There are a lot of different types of infections that can be caused through this portal of entry. So another portal of entry is your respiratory portal of entry. The gateways would be, common gateways would be your oral or your nasal mucosa. So when you inhale these pathogens, the small particles that are inhaled deeply can easily cause infection. So some examples would be your strep. This would include the flu, measles, or mumps. So easily transmitted diseases. So once these pathogens have made their way through the portal of entry, they become established. So they attach to the host, through adhesion. This is like a stable foothold on the host, and the pathogen is limited to the binding site. So they attach using fimbriae. These are commonly used by bacterial, fungal, protozoal pathogens. They also can attach by spikes and glycoproteins, and these viruses attach using those. And then once attached, they can easily cause disease.